This is Action News with John McKnight, Jill Becker, Ernie Johnson Sports, and Dan Atkinson with the weather.
Good evening and happy Easter. The weather this Easter Sunday did not lend itself to a stroll in your Easter finery.
The weather for a while appeared it might do far worse than simply dampen outdoor holiday plans. Much of the metro area and the state of Georgia were under tornado warnings or watches this afternoon. A twister touched down in Meriwether County, causing some minor damage in the Pine Mountain area. A few utility lines were downed, some trees uprooted, but nobody was hurt. The tornado moved to the northeast, touching down in the town of Brooks in Fayette County. Again, little damage and no injuries. Richard Betts was spending Easter with his family when the winds started to blow.
We were all sitting in the living room, and my stepfather came in there saying we need to head to the cellar. So cyclone was coming. All we saw outside was just limbs and trees and just everything just flying all through the air.
Was it very big?
It was fairly large. It was a scaring experience,
really?
too.
Fortunately, scaring was just about the extent of the twister's rage. It moved on to the northeast, was spotted in Henry County, but dissipated without touching ground again. A sadder story elsewhere. Thousands of people spent Easter Sunday digging out from the wreckage caused by yesterday's tornadoes in northern Mississippi. The death toll today reached 15. At least 100 other people were injured. The worst hit community was Water Valley, Mississippi. 7 people died in this community of 4,500. Water Valley's Mayor Hamrick Henry said today, "I don't think things will ever get back to normal. We'll try our best, but it will take a long, long time." Rescue workers are still searching through the debris for more victims.
The tornadoes. Twisters were spotted in Fayette, Henry, Meriwether, and Troup counties. A string of tornadoes in northern Mississippi left the tiny town of Water Valley scarred this Easter weekend. 15 people were killed by the twisters. More than 100 were injured. At a supermarket in Water Valley, 30 people were shopping when the building was completely leveled.
Maybe in 15 or 20 seconds, the store was just a pile of rubble. There was people covered up with debris, and frozen food cases had fallen on them, and people were dying and crying and praying and everything.
A state of emergency has been declared in 10 counties. The state is asking President Reagan for
forest winds reported around the Atlanta area. There's a space in the clouds, though, you'll notice back here in Alabama, and that's the space we're in now. So the tornado warnings for all of the Atlanta area have expired. Severe thunderstorm warnings no longer in effect, and the tornado watch has been canceled. The only problem may be a few stray thunder showers, possibly locally heavy later tonight. You can see them back here in Mississippi, but the big activity is now to our east, so I think we can breathe easier. And now that the temperature has dropped some, the likelihood of the storms coming in out of Mississippi getting as severe as they did this afternoon is very, very slim. Very warm, unstable tropical air coming into the southeast today, an intense low-pressure system over western Tennessee, and a powerful jet stream blowing at about 100 miles per hour. All of that combined to fuel the big storms we had earlier on this afternoon.
At Peachtree DeKalb Airport. High winds and twisters slammed into metro Atlanta at mid-afternoon, leaving widespread destruction like this you see here.
Some areas have been devastated. You're now looking at the Bolton West office building in Atlanta's West End. The face of the building was ripped off, but miraculously there were no serious injuries here. We will have a full report. Good evening. I'm Andrea Nissen.
And I'm John Pruitt. As we've just seen, the damage throughout the metro area is extensive, and reports are coming in constantly of more destruction caused by the intensity of the storm. In several areas, the power is out, but that is the least of it. Power will soon be restored. But the damage will take days, perhaps months to assess and recover from. We have several reports now. First, we hear from Skycam pilot reporter Bruce Arian. Bruce?
John, of course, the Peachtree Airport of great importance to me because we keep our home with Skycam right here at the airport. Here on the north ramp, you'll note the damage as the aircraft are thrown around. You mentioned earlier they were like toys tossed in the wind, and that they were. You'll see one Cessna 172 on its back there. The others turned around in sort of just a total state of disarray. There on the left-hand side of your picture, you'll note a number of aircraft with their wingtips bent, and some of them right up on top of their nose. Now, thousands and thousands of dollars of damage have been done out here this afternoon. Of course, these aircraft have all been are all tied down when they're out here on the ramp, but these winds that roared through here this afternoon, well, they just snapped those tie downs, and you can see the result right there. The damage was centralized right here on the north ramp of the airport, and very little of it did occur over on the Academy ramp or the east ramp, so it was all right here. Damage estimates now are just coming in, and we'll be moving along to take another look at the area here on the north side of town, but right now Mark Winnie on the west side has quite a gruesome sight out there. Mark?
Thank you, Bruce. I've seen people rip through newspaper with more difficulty than the tornado had ripping through this building. As you can see, it's sheer devastation, but as I said at 5:30, the miracle of it all is that nobody was hurt, nobody even seriously injured. We've talked to people who are inside, veteran police officers who've been on undercover assignments, probably gun battles, and said they've never been through anything as horrifying as this. Apparently it hit from the direction where we're standing. We talked to one woman who was sitting in a chair, had no warning, and then a coworker she was talking to suddenly screamed tornado. She got up and left just in time. It's inside. There are shards of glass sticking in the wall, debris every place. The Special Investigations section of the police department is on the 5th floor. Major Herman Greiner had only moments before left his office and maybe saving his life. Lots of people, lots of police officers are on their way to shelter when it hit. We talked to a sergeant who had opened the door just at the incident the wall was sucked out. We have David Mills, a city worker, who is driving his truck. It's parked only a few feet away from me when all of a sudden a wall fell in front of him. David, tell us what happened.
Well, we was coming down from the job site, and a big ball of fire had come out of the sky and just hit that oak tree up there, and it just made a big explosion. I looked back from the west right there was a big funnel cloud coming, and it was coming. Everything got real black, and somebody hit the building, and boof, just busted up. And that was it. It was over just a minute. Debris was everywhere.
There you have it. Back to you, Bruce.
All righty, Mark. We're going to be keeping an eye on the north side of town, and also we heard a report of extensive damage having been done at the Pine Tree Shopping Center, which is right up Buford Highway, not too far from our spot here at the Peachtree Airport. We'll be taking a look at that, and we'll get back to you with more live updates from Skycam in just a bit. John, Andrea?
All right, thank you very much, Bruce. The high winds and driving rains have left a wide path of destruction and damage across the entire metro area. As we've told you, thousands of large trees have been toppled, some ripped up by their roots. The downed trees are still blocking streets and intersections in some areas. Giant tree limbs block the northbound lanes of Interstate 75 near West Paces Ferry Road. Dozens of other roads and highways were also blocked. Huge plate glass windows were shattered at several buildings in Midtown Plaza. Glass fragments hurled across the street. Luckily, again, nobody hurt there. Electric power was blacked out in many areas as power lines snapped and transformers were crippled. Georgia Power crews are still working feverishly to try to restore electric service. Several airplanes parked on the apron at DeKalb Peachtree Airport, as we've already told you, were overturned by the gusty winds. School officials kept children in class rather than send them home in the severe weather. It was a wise decision. Scattered flooding is reported, and several streams and creeks have overflowed their banks. At least 15 storm-related injuries are reported in Bullock County. Most of those injuries are minor, but 2 people have been admitted to the Bullock County Hospital in Statesboro. That's in southeastern Georgia. Tornadoes touched down in half a dozen places in Toombs County, also in southeast Georgia. Roofs were torn off homes and buildings, and the Georgia State Patrol reports an undetermined number of injuries in that area.
And John, it appears that the worst of the storm is over for now, at least in the metro area. Johnny Beckman has the latest on that from the 11 Alive Weather Office. Johnny, what a day.
Yes, indeed, Andrea. In fact, I imagine when the reports are in that there will be some wind damage reported in almost every county in the northern third of Georgia, because it was a severe line of thunderstorms that moved right across the state. You'll watch on our Weather Watch radar right now, the activities moved over into the eastern part of the state, but of particular interest to us, there's some more thunderstorms that have developed down to the southwest of Atlanta and back into Alabama. We take a look at our Skyscan radar here. You can see that there are some thunderstorms still back in central Alabama. The main cold front that will be coming through late tonight is still back in Mississippi, so there will be some thunderstorms popping up around our area tonight, but I don't think we're going to have lines of severe thunderstorms. Those were squall lines, typical springtime squall lines that can do just severe damage that move through this afternoon. I don't think we'll have those tonight, but we will still have a chance for some thunder showers till about midnight tonight. I'll be back later on with a complete recap of today's weather and the outlook for the next few days to come.
Okay, Johnny, thanks. Well, the worst hit area today was Montgomery, Alabama, not in terms of damage, but in terms of lives lost. 5 people died when a twister churned through rush hour traffic this morning. 4 of the victims died when 2 tractor-trailer trucks overturned, causing a multiple vehicle pileup. The wreckage was scattered for a mile down U.S. Highway 231.
And before they hit the metro area, those storms roared through West Georgia. And Neil Craig was with residents of Paulding County as they tried to clean up damage from yesterday's tornado when the storm hit again.
Most families in the Paulding County Crossroads community of Martinville are related somehow or other, and they'll need to pull together more than ever now. One mobile home was literally disintegrated. At least 2 others, including some houses, were heavily damaged. And the Martinville Baptist Church had every window blown out. A mobile home on the shores of a lake down the road almost ended up in the lake. Those inside could only hang on.
We just lifted up about 2 feet and fell over.
You just rolled it right over?
Yep. Didn't even move the car. The car was sitting right there in front of us, still sitting there. Trailer moved out, you know. We're lucky if it turned over one more time. We'd been swimming.
It would have gone in the lake?
Yeah.
How'd you get out of the trailer?
We knocked the windows out of the kitchen so we could climb out.
The Hester family was busy cleaning up their ruined store on Highway 62. In all the damage in this part of Paulding County, however, no serious injuries were reported. Most of the terrain here is high, and there's little to brunt the force of the high winds.
I've never seen one touch the ground. I know of one a couple of years ago that come through. We saw it with the lightning behind it, and that was just all of a sudden, boom, and there it was. But it can sneak up on you without warning, believe me.
But the one yesterday was a lot worse than you.
I've never seen anything that terrible in my life. And if it was not a tornado, I sure don't want to be in one.
Still another storm is hitting Martinville in Paulding County. The damage here done yesterday may be repeated again this afternoon. And the people are just holding on and praying. This is Neil Craig, 11 Alive News in Paulding County.
Well, we'll join him in those prayers.
Yeah, we've had no significant damage reports from Paulding County, but as we say, the damage reports continue to come in from all across North Georgia, and we'll try to continue to take those and update you as the hour newscast continues. Our Skycam pilot reporter Bruce Arian, of course, is aloft. He is surveying the metro Atlanta situation from the air. We'll be hearing from him periodically through this newscast. A very frightening afternoon.
Absolutely.
And I'm glad it's gone.
Good night tonight. And until it goes through, our weather pattern is not going to have any dramatic change. We've got this very unstable situation over the southeast and been good heating over to the west of us in Alabama, and some more thunderstorms have developed over there. I'll show those to you in just a moment. We've got overcast conditions right now. Our temperature reading is 63 degrees. Relative humidity is 90%. Pressure is unsteady at 29.58. The wind is that very moist, that unstable tropical flow coming in from the south at 12 miles per hour. Now, our rainfall measurement here at 11 Alive since midnight last night, just over an inch and 600ths, as you can see. We have a surplus of better than 5 inches of rain so far for this year. The high temperature today was 76 degrees, and last night's low was 60. These worked out to be about 2 degrees above normal for this date. On Weather Watch radar, we've had a lot of activity going on during the afternoon. The big line, the squall line that we had this afternoon, and it was a squall line. That's what we have in the springtime in the southern part of the country. These squall lines develop ahead of cold fronts, and they move very rapidly, and that one moved across the area at about 50 miles an hour during the afternoon. A long line of severe thunderstorms moved on through, the remnants of those now moving into the east central portion of our state. And just in the past hour, we've had some thunderstorms developing back to the west of us again, back in Alabama. These thunderstorms are lining up and are moving toward the east at about 35 to 40 miles per hour. If we use Skyscan radar, we can look back into Alabama, and we can see that these thunderstorms stretch all the way across the central portion of that state back into Mississippi. Here's some activity along the cold front, which has now moved on past Memphis. The cold front will be coming through our area after midnight tonight, but before that occurs, we will have these scattered thunderstorms continuing to track across, particularly across the central portion of Georgia. Our temperatures at 5 o'clock show why that has been happening. We've got temperatures in the 60s in our area, but it's warmed up again back to the west of us. 76 at Birmingham, 75 at Montgomery, 80 degrees down at Mobile. Extremely unstable air, and because of that, this secondary system is now developed with more thunderstorms that are going to be moving through tonight. 4 o'clock, those thunderstorms are right over here in the lower Mississippi Valley, but boy, they've been moving rapidly all day. The earlier ones, you can see this line. This is the line that moved through starting, this sequence starts at about 11 o'clock this morning, moves right on across our state. At 4 o'clock, really blowing everything out in the northern part of Georgia, moving on to the east, and this system was just then beginning to develop back in the lower Mississippi Valley. It is now stretched on over into Alabama and is moving over our area. The wide-angle view from the satellite shows what's been happening today. You can see that moist flow coming up out of the Gulf and erupting into these lines of heavy thunderstorms moving across the area. We had just many sightings of funnel clouds around, very large hailstones reported out of this system, and very strong winds. The wind gusts out of the storms themselves were 60 or 70 miles an hour, and certainly capable of doing a tremendous amount of damage, even if they were not tornado oriented. This is our super radar, which shows the line of activity moving on through our state. At this time, super radar showed the activity back in the Mississippi Valley. Those are now streaking right on across Alabama at about 35 to 40 miles an hour, and will be moving across our area later on this evening. Very unstable, warm and humid air over the southern states. Cold front still back to the west of us. It'll be coming through later tonight. Temperatures in the 80s to the south of that front, in the 60s behind the front. Sharp contrast in temperatures. All the ingredients to produce the heavy thunderstorms that we had today were right over us, and that's exactly what happened. Now, we're going to have a better situation tomorrow. The cold front will come through late tonight. It'll be a breezy and somewhat cooler day tomorrow. Will be much less humid and much more comfortable.
Now with more thunderstorms developing, and we had every ingredient in the world to produce the severe weather, which led us to believe earlier today that it was going to happen. I thought I'd run through some of the ingredients that make severe weather situations. Let's take a look. The ingredients that made today's severe weather were classic. A cold front approaching from the northwest, slamming into warm, humid, unstable tropical air over us. It plowed up huge thunderstorms. The other ingredient was aloft. We had a strong jet stream over us today, blowing at speeds of over 100 miles per hour. It provided the fuel, the energy that drove the severe thunderstorms. The result was tornado watches and warnings for most of our state earlier today. You can't really breathe entirely easy until the cold front itself passes, and because the cold front's still way out in Mississippi, we won't breathe real easily until it goes by. That won't happen until late tonight, Johnny. So things are still popping out there, although the big ones, for the time being, look like they have passed to our east.
Okay, Steve, and we'll be keeping an eye on those during the evening hours. Today we had many sightings, reporting sightings of funnel clouds all around the area. I'm sure that we didn't have as many tornadoes as people thought were there, but we had wind gusts of 70 miles an hour, and if that blows your house down, it, really does. I'm not going to argue with anybody.
Sure, winds or tornadoes. One of the more ominous afternoons I've seen in this town in many years.
It has been a bad one.
And you and Steve and Guy and John did a terrific job.
Thank you. We'll be watching these thunderstorms that are developing. If they become dangerous, we'll let you know about them immediately.
We know you will. Thanks, John.
Well, it was frightening, but we're on the downside anyway.
Big heavy band. Now this is what was here in Atlanta at 3:30 this afternoon. So 2.5 hours later, it's down well past Augusta, going down to almost to Valdosta. And if you could drive from Atlanta to here in 2.5 hours, I think the State Patrol would probably stop you. This is really moving fast. But now a new area developing to our west-southwest, be moving generally to the east, and more showers developing even further west. Now the satellite photograph is an interesting one. It shows us finally clear skies are coming, and that is headed our way. I think it's going to get here tomorrow, and I think with our fingers crossed it's going to last through the weekend. And you can see the tremendous
the window out the door, I'm sorry.
This is a church right down the street from where the twister or high winds or what people thought was a tornado hit here at this building at 2001. It blew the roof off of that church, busted a gas main, and they were capping the gas main as we left there. But here is where it looked like most of the damage was done at 2001 Martin Luther King Jr. Drive, where we're live now. A cleanup is underway, and it probably will be for a while.
Well, thank God nobody was hurt, and we can say that for the entire area. Not a soul has been hurt through all of this.
Few people hurt, but no one killed.
It was just before rush hour this morning when a tornado ripped across Montgomery's northern bypass. 2 tractor-trailer trucks were overturned, and at least 30 cars crashed or were hurled into a nearby swamp. Eyewitnesses said the wind started blowing, and it turned dark as night.
I told my partner that was it.
The wind started blowing, and it got so dark you couldn't hardly see, and I was trying to get past before I could get off the shoulder of the road, and the next thing I know, the wind got that trailer and truck, and up it went and over.
The same tornado swept through a nearby residential area, killing one woman. The Montgomery tornado was part of a storm system stretching from Texas to North Carolina, which unleashed more than 3 dozen twisters in less than 24 hours. Last night, after a twister hit Ringgold, Louisiana, residents said the small town looked like a war zone as firemen were unable to put out fires caused by downed power lines. National Guardsmen were called in to prevent looting from stores which had been destroyed. At least one person was killed and 20 injured as trailers and people were hurled about.
The trailer's over here, over here. The trailer's over there, over here now.
Today, near Birmingham, mobile homes were overturned and trees toppled when a tornado touched down near the community of Adamsville. Throughout Georgia today, as the storm system moved east, there were severe thunderstorm and tornado warnings. The skies blackened and residents were advised to seek cover.
For the remainder of northwest Georgia, including metro Atlanta, a tornado watch is in effect until 4 o'clock this afternoon.
Office workers huddled in hallways as tornadoes were sighted. Forecasters are saying that this outbreak of tornadoes and thunderstorms will continue tonight across the southeast, from Alabama to the Carolinas. Rebecca Chase, ABC News, Atlanta.
If you have ever watched a tornado approaching, you know the feeling you can get in your stomach. The National Weather Service has a severe storm center, which tracks the more than 700 tornadoes which hit the United States in an average year. This year is a lot worse than average. There have been 491 tornadoes in just 4 months. As Charles Murphy reports, that has meant more work than usual for the Weather Service experts.
Alabama started looking bad yesterday afternoon. The barometer was falling. The lead forecaster at the Severe Weather Center in Kansas City made a judgment call.
Mississippi's got some falls that have centered right over Alabama that we probably better go ahead and put out a watch.
A half dozen southern cities from Fort Worth to Atlanta were under a watch. From late yesterday till early this morning, tornadoes were popping up all across Dixie.
Confirmed tornado touchdown, southwest Cobb County.
The watches, the warnings, the individual tornadoes all add up to a pattern, and the pattern this year is disturbing. The jet stream has created a low-pressure trough in the southwest, pumping unstable air across the south, giving extra energy to thunderstorms.
That kind of a situation occasionally is not unusual for this time of the year, but the thing that is unusual is its persistence, that we've just had a succession, one after another, every couple of days, another storm, then comes another one.
And they're big. The tornadoes that hit the Carolinas March 28th were force 4s, almost as high on the scale as they get. 44 tornadoes, 62 people killed. Mississippi got hit a month later, 15 deaths here. Then Oklahoma was hit twice, more deaths. Over 100 have died this year. During the last 30 years, tornadoes have killed an average of 88 Americans a year. The deaths would be greater today were it not for the improved warning system. And the next major improvement will be the Doppler radar. The Doppler at the center's Oklahoma laboratory detected formation of a tornado Sunday. The green and red dots indicate a funnel forming. This warned the town of Manfred, Oklahoma to take cover, and there was only one person killed there. What happens later to a town that's almost wiped out, as Morris, Oklahoma was last week? Residents are talking about rebuilding.
We've got to straighten their lives out and just get on with doing the things that they do best, and that is live and work in Morris.
This was Wichita Falls, Texas, 5 years ago, hit by one of the largest tornadoes ever measured. This is Wichita Falls, Texas today. Why did it rebuild? Ask Margaret Martin.
Lord was with us, and that we would rebuild on the same site around our friends.
The government was with them too, with 3% loans. Today, the neighborhood looks like a model of middle America. Charles Murphy, ABC News, Wichita Falls.
In Philadelphia today, they were just thankful there was not a lot of wind. There was a 9-alarm fire in the downtown section of the city. That is 54 separate engine companies, more than 250 firefighters at work. The fire broke out in a vacant building and quickly spread to several other structures, and for a time threatened the Gallery, a major Philadelphia.
Firemen pumped water onto other buildings in the area to prevent further spreading. 20,000 people were evacuated from the shopping mall. Burning chunks of the building then began falling onto the street, igniting parked cars. About 2 hours after the fire started, the building collapsed. The workmen escaped without injury, but 2 firemen were hurt. Altogether, 15 buildings caught fire. Late this afternoon, the fire was brought under control. Officials say it was one of the worst fires in Philadelphia.
Henry, Butts, and Newton counties until 7:30 p.m. Very heavy thunderstorms occurring to the south of the metro area. These thunderstorms moving toward the east at about 40 miles per hour. And we will keep you informed of this weather situation.
This has been a special weather update from 11 Alive News. We now join our regular programming already.
Severe weather that is occurring now just south of the Atlanta metro area. Take a look at color action radar. This is a live picture. And you will see a very large area of showers and thunderstorms extending roughly from Birmingham west to east across the Alabama-Georgia line, crossing the LaGrange area just south of Atlanta on over to Newton, Jasper, and Morgan counties. Some of the other counties that would be affected in that area would be Carroll, Hurd, Coweta, South Fulton, Fayette, South Clayton, Henry, Paulding, Butts, Newton, Jasper, and Morgan. And perhaps you heard a little earlier, somewhat to our surprise, this weather has developed so rapidly and become severe in such a short period of time. A funnel was spotted by the Henry County Police in the Newton Grove area, moving east-northeastward within the past 15 minutes. And as a result, the Weather Service placed Henry, Butts, and Newton counties under a tornado warning. That has expired now, but it does indicate that these are very dangerous thunderstorms just south of the Atlanta metropolitan area. If you're driving west on Interstate 20, you'll run back into the showers close to Alabama. If you're trying to drive to the southwest down Interstate 85 toward the LaGrange area, very, very heavy weather there that you'd have to drive through. Also, Interstate 75 down toward Macon, a tremendous amount of weather there. And if you're headed east on Interstate 20, east of Atlanta, also you will encounter these very heavy thunderstorms. So at the moment, the bottom line is the weather has erupted once again just south of Atlanta, from Alabama over into east central Georgia. No problems inside the perimeter at the moment or north of the city of Atlanta. No problems for Rome or Athens or on up into the mountains, but things could get worse if the line drifts a little bit to the north, and we'll continue to monitor it very closely here at Weather Center 2 and WSB. At this point, we return to our regularly scheduled programming, Entertainment Tonight.
By National Weather Service, effective until 8:30 p.m. for Fayette, Henry, and Paulding counties in northwest Georgia. This line of intense thunderstorms continues to streak toward the east across the central portions of Georgia. They're moving about 45 to 55 miles per hour in an eastward direction. We have some just to the west of the metro area right now that will be moving across our city in a short while. These thunderstorms are extremely severe. If threatening weather approaches, you should go to a safe place immediately, and you should ask your nearest law enforcement agency to relay your severe weather reports to the National Weather Service. Don't call us with them. We can't process those until they come through National Weather Service. So if you have a report of severe weather, if you think you have severe weather in your area, you should report that to your nearest law enforcement agency, and they will relay your reports to the National Weather Service. We'll take them from National Weather Service and get them to you as fast as we can. Stay with us for this weather situation.
This has been a special weather update from 11 Alive News. We now join our regular programming already.
South brought wind, rain, and hail. The storm and the tornadoes damaged buildings, scattered cars and trucks, and knocked out power. And dozens of people.
First rash of tornadoes to hit the South in 10 years. 40 twisters were sighted in 8 states, from Oklahoma to South Carolina. In Montgomery, Alabama, cars and trucks were tossed about like toys. 5 died here, 30 others were injured.
All I can tell you
Of a young woman and her child, the bodies of 25-year-old Pam Melton